The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let's talk about what we came for, the fight that happened this past weekend. In the heavyweight division, big boys fighting. Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois over there in Wembley Stadium in front of
Daniel who?
Daniel Dubois.
Who?
Dubois.
That's why I didn't know who he was until this weekend. Boy, that's what I'm saying.
Daniel Dubois over there in Wembley, 90,000 plus packing that stadium out. And yeah, this was a fun one. I mean, at round one, early on, Dubois bought the fight to AJ and was pressing forward. And later on in the round, AJ started to settle in, started working that jab and the uppercut. But towards that end of the round, AJ missed with that overhand right. And then Dubois dropped him with an overhand right of his own. And then round two, Dubois continued putting his foot on the gas and was throwing bombs and tried to get AJ out of there. Then in round three, more pressure from Dubois. Towards the end of that round, he caught him with that left hook, and AJ tumbled towards the ground. And you could tell, man, like, you know, it was the beginning of the end. And then round four, more punches and bunches. Dubois dropped AJ twice early on in that round, and like I said, continued to put more pressure on them. And then round five, AJ showed some signs of life, and he was bringing the fight to Dubois. You know, got a little bit too enthusiastic behind those punches, and he even buckled Dubois a little bit, but he got too aggressive, like I said, and paid the price. Got caught with that short right hook, and it was night. It was over for AJ, and still, because he got promoted. Dubois was already the champion. He had the IBF champion that Usyk had to vacate, so he was able to retain that IBF championship and still your heavyweight champion, Daniel Dubois. Chris, I'll let you kick it off. What were your thoughts on this one?
AJ was just trying to survive, man. Just really praying to the gods above and just trying to land something ever since after the end of the first. I was a little disgusted with him being too aggressive, being that he's a Olympia and that he's a boxer, that we've seen him, you know, come back from this. And, you know, he's never seen, like, even when he lost before, he kind of kept his composure as a boxer. This time, when I seen him, he kept his hands down, was getting easy to touch, swinging, like everything was telepathic. He could see the punches coming. And so it wasn't the AJ I know. And that, to do credit to his opponent, that got him off his game early and put AJ in fight or flight type of situation where it's all or nothing. And he came all or nothing and he paid the price for it.
Steve?
Yeah, you said fight or flight. He was put in that fight or flight mode very early since the first knockdown. You know, he said he was praying to the gods, you know, as far as metaphorically. When he finally got Dubois hurt, you know, I guess he didn't keep himself humble when his prayers were answered and got too excited like he had him hurt that bad. I know it probably looks different in the fight, especially when you're praying for something to land and you finally do it and get excited. But that's exactly what he did. And dude came over with a what was it, straight right down,
Right, yeah.
almost and hit him right on the chin.
Job.
And I think Josh was trying to throw an uppercut at the same time and caught him. I think he got him hurt. I think he thought he got him more hurt than he thought. And possibly that was from the knockdowns before for him to make his judgment, or, you know, fight or flight. He saw him hurt and put all his chips in and read it wrong. But that was his chance. But even before that, he, like you said, didn't look himself. Couldn't land on punches. Looked slow a lot of times, especially after the first few knockdowns. To me, and I know we're possibly going to talk about what's his other options, but to me, I think Anthony Joshua was on Deontay Wilder level, and possibly since they're devastating losses, that's hopefully something new, at least something for them as a household name they can go to. Those two fight.
So
I like that. I like that.
So, like Chris was joking earlier, Dubois, he's not quite a household name, but he was on my radar. That Usyk fight. I don't know. I definitely watched the fight. I don't know if I watched it live or I watched the replay, but this was a year ago. This was in August of last year because people didn't give him a chance in that fight, and he looked really good in those early rounds against Usyk. I'm like, oh my goodness, he might actually have a chance, but then Usyk just did what Usyk does later on in the rounds, and he was able to get Dubois out of there. But that's when he got on my radar. But I think definitely within the UK, like he's probably a superstar overnight over there. It's such a big fight, but I guess he's on everybody. He'd probably be on more Americans' radar this time. This was a Riyadh season fight, even though they did it in London. So, those guys throwing money. So, I don't know. I guess the sky's the limit with this kid. What do y'all think is next for him? I'll start off with you, Chris.
Ride the wave, man. This was an impressive fight. He looked like control. He looked strong. He was taking the hits. So just ride the wave, see what's in front of him, and I wouldn't jump to no rematch. I would just ride the wave and just see what other opponents out there and just try to build a resume up and try to get more in front of more people. I think I only seen him probably 2 other times besides this fight. I know he's not a big name like that, but I think right now he can just ride this wave and start knocking people out, and he'll be right on everybody's radar.
So you wouldn't give him the winner of Usyk and Fury rematch?
I would. That's what I mean. Just keep
Okay.
riding the wave. I said no rematch to Joshua.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing there for him. I think he could just start riding the wave, and hopefully he can get some knockouts somewhere else so he can add to it more to his resume. Even if he doesn't fight those guys, if he can get knockouts at that, we like the knockouts, especially from the big boys. So we see the big guys, the heavyweights knocking out people. He can just build a resume that way. There's some good opponents that he's knocking out, and it looks good. I think we can ride off that way. Hold it.
Steve?
Yeah, definitely. I think he can get fights after that, especially that type of knockout. It wasn't just a decision. It was a KO win. It was Anthony Joshua being a household name that was spread out pretty quickly that he got knocked out. I didn't get to see the fight, but as soon as I scrolled on YouTube, that's what I saw. It did him dirty on the thumbnail, by the way.
Yeah, they had him face plant, like face down, ass up, like a rap video or something.
Yeah. I can definitely see Dubois getting a fight and I guess get on top of Mount Everest. I mean, I guess you got to wait for an opponent to come, wait for things to sort out with people fighting. I think fights will come to him more than him asking for a fight based off of what he just accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, if I were him, I would see how the fight, because Fury and Usyk are fighting towards the end of the year, so I see how that shakes out before I take another opponent. But if you don't think you get that fight, yeah, you just got to stay busy and just keep knocking people out. But like I said, the kid's 26, 27, he's got a bright future, and we'll see how that shakes out. But moving on to the loser of this fight, so I guess the past 10 years has been like a 3-ring circus as far as those heavyweights. You had Tyson Fury, of course, the undefeated Gypsy King. Deontay Wilder, heavy hands, knockout guy, and actually Anthony Joshua, like Chris saying, Olympian. Do y'all think they kind of had missed opportunities and this era didn't shake out how it probably could have shaken out? Because only fights really got were Wilder and Fury. We didn't get anybody else fighting. And I mean, you can still put on a fight, but it still doesn't have that hype. So, and I think now these new guys are coming up. You got Usyk, the same age around those guys, but probably has a few more years on top. But as far as this new blood, the Dubois and some other guys in that division, Big Baby Anderson, even though he just lost. But do y'all think it was missed opportunities in this little era? I guess it's basically the era people are.
Yeah, 1,000%. Joshua's team let us down. He should have gave us both of those fights, that we need to see. There's an opportunity for both of them to land. I know losses came in between those, but I think Joshua's team let us down. If out of anybody, I think that's the team we look at. I don't think the other two would have been had an issue finding Joshua the way it looks like because the two fought each other. So finding Joshua wouldn't hurt neither of them. I think Joshua let us down. His team. I know he came. He got some losses in between those two when he's supposed to fight. Even they lost when they were supposed to fight. So it's kind of weird. But at the when we look over it, Josh was the only one that didn't fight either of them. So as of right now, or when they both was on top. So I think that's why I can lean the blame on this is his team.
Steve?
Yeah, if I can remember his, fight history, I remember there's hypes of him supposed to fight certain fighters, and then he would end up losing, and then he would get a win back, and it's almost like he would teetering on staying relevant. And I think this one might put the nail in the coffin for the generation of everybody participating around him and who could have made his fights. Now we got younger people or people that we don't know so much of, like Dubois, knocking him out. Like what even fights that we wanted to see, if you can make them now, if you can make them, since he having these losses and barely staying relevant. And I think the Ngannou fight made him still relevant, but we have to remember, I don't think that was a professional fight, was it? Or was that exhibition?
Yeah, it was professional.
That was professional. So for what it is, yeah. But I think this one actually puts it into for people to pay attention what caliber of fighter he is, or if he's that top echelon heavyweight still.
Yeah, I'm with Chris though. I think definitely a missed opportunity. I put it more so on Joshua's team because when everybody was still undefeated, his team, was dragging their feet and moving slowly and taking mandatories instead of making that fight. And before you know it, all those guys started losing. Fury was the last one to lose, but should have struck while the iron was hot, so to speak. And even though I put a lot of blame on Joshua's team, like Chris said, but we still had a chance to have I think it was after Joshua had, he rectified those Andy Ruiz fights, so he's got some of that shine back. He had a chance to make it, and for some reason, Wilder's team wanted to invoke that rematch clause with a third fight with Fury. I think they had the fight basically booked between Joshua and Fury, and they invoked that rematch clause. I'm like, man, and then I think the two Usyk fights happened after that, and the shine was really taken off of Joshua. So I'm like, man, Wilder's team kind of messed that up. Where, the stars just never aligned, and I don't know. I think it was a missed opportunity from that generation. It had a chance to kind of be like the wish or die version of, when you had the Alis all fighting each other and Frazier and George Foreman and whatnot. So yeah, this missed opportunity, but it is what it is. Can't go back and change it. But Steve kind of touched on it. I'm guessing a fight that he would be looking forward to is him versus Wilder. I don't know, Chris, you think that fight may still happen, I guess, now?
Yeah, it can still happen, but if I'm Joshua, I got to run this back immediately. I got to try to get my name back. I got to try to fight this guy. I got to show who I am. I got more heart than that. Even though Joshua showed heart, but I'm a better fighter than what I put out there. So if I'm Joshua, I'm not running away from this guy. I'm calling him. My team trying to get in contact with him. I need to run it back, trying to run it back as fast as possible. While it's still on the clock, while it's still even a possibility. I don't think it's good for Joshua to run back, take time off, unless he's thinking about retiring, because he's done already so much in boxing. He's fine, I'm sure, financially, just on his own legacy. I think he's fine with what he's accomplished. But I would, keep those fights or even fights and the potential for the future for him relevant. Because now you just find Joshua, his name doesn't come with his record. I think he needs to start winning something and showing us his boxing skills more.
Yeah, and after the fight, he was talking about running a immediate rematch, and he put out a video saying he's not done, he's not retiring. But what would make you think that a rematch would turn differently, Chris, if you were to get the immediate rematch?
Well, I mean, you already got knocked out. You got nothing to lose now, right? So, I think you just got to go back to the drawing board, see what you did wrong, improve on what he's done wrong in that fight, and just be a little bit more prepared. He's fighting a good fighter. He knows that. He lost to him, and it could be one of his legacy stories. It could change his whole legacy around. If he gets a knockout, then we're looking at a rematch from both of them. That's how he got to look at it. Because if I knock this guy out, now I get this rematch back with him. We're going 3 times in a row, and now we got a different legacy for him. So that's how I would look at it.
I'm not opposed to a rematch, just not an immediate rematch. I think he's at the point in his career. He's no spring chicken. He's got to chase the chicken, so to speak. He got to chase that money and take the Wilder fight if that's available, and then go after Dubois. Because like from what we've seen, Wilder hasn't really evolved.
I thought Wilder was done. I thought Wilder thought about retiring. Did he say like
I think he said. I think some people in his family were urging him to retire. Let me look it up because I don't want to, put misinformation out there. They were, I think his mom wanted him to retire. I don't know if he officially retired though. Let me look it up though. But I don't think he's officially retired. I mean, he's 38. He's no spring chicken. I'm looking at his page. It doesn't say former fighter.
Okay.
So I think he may still be in it. Let me check though. Yeah, I don't see anything about him retiring. They were calling for it, but I don't think he's officially retired. So what do you think as far as that, since from what we know he's still active, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, that's still a possibility. I mean, we might as well see it before it's too late. I don't want to see these guys fighting in their 40s, 38, still, they're still in the youth. I mean, I don't know. Wilder didn't look so good his last fight either. I guess the time would be now. They both coming off L's, right? So I guess the time is now. Get it while the money's still high on both of their names. They both can still sell out arenas. So I think they both can just make it happen.
So I'm guessing he's still firm on that, Steve. He should probably fight Wilder next.
It's almost like a risk or reward because you're not saying if he fought Wilder, he's not skilled, but if you're going up and getting possibly the money and the skill as far as Dubois and him KOing him, or you can have a fresh slate on a fighter that's came off a loss, and who knows these pressure these fighters take on, but maybe the circumstances of the fight, the outcome of it, you could take this one as because I think the Wilder and the Joshua fight is everybody's going to watch that. I think they still have a name, a devastating puncher against Anthony Joshua, a fight that should have happened that's happening now. I think that can be good for Joshua, but I think he's taking a more risk if he goes for that rematch again. That's just me.
Definitely a risk. And like I said, Dubois, that rematch will be there, but I feel like you need to get that bag before you take that risk. Because if you get knocked out by Dubois, I'm not saying that it's over, but the shine keeps wearing off more and more.
Well, I look at it vice versa for the Wilder fight. Either those two loses, one career kind of goes up a little bit, the other career goes all the way down. In the Joshua Wilder fight, whoever loses in that one, it's going like this. It's not going to be like an even out. So it's not a win-win situation for him at any situation. He has to win his next fight.
Yeah, but at least it's probably more money behind that Wilder fight than the Dubois rematch, though. So that's why I'm saying you might as well take that first.
I get you.
Even if you lose, I mean, at least you get the bag. Like you said, whoever wins that fight will be in a better position, just slightly. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, what could have been, but just got to keep pressing forward. And I just looked it up. Malik Scott, who's Wilder's trainer, he said after, I guess, watching the fight this past weekend, they said Wilder still wants to box. So, maybe we will get that fight.
Okay.
I don't know, but we'll see how things play out. But thank you for checking out this Haymaker Combat Sports segment. This full episode could be found on the Haymaker Combat Sports YouTube page and in audio form on all major podcast platforms. Until next time, peace.